Hi folks, Canadian Prepper here. So it's time for Urban Survival Strategies 2.0, and just a quick reminder, if you haven't done so yet, make sure you go get your name in for the draw for the Apollo Tactical Compound Bow System. This is a very big giveaway, so you're definitely going to want to get your name into the hat for this draw. Go check it out. Let's get to it. Don't forget that you can show your support for the After the Clap series by liking, commenting, and sharing these videos on other social media platforms. Enjoy the video. Now, number 6 is using signage as a deterrent. So I did a video recently where I talked about the potential of using different signs like biohazard stickers to try to keep people out of certain places, to scare people from going in certain places, even though there might be nothing of danger in there. But if you wanted to keep them out of a certain place, a simple sign can at least create indecisiveness within the person that will make them less capable when you do finally have to encounter that person. I mean, simply putting up a sign that says looters will be shot, even if that's not your intention, could be a big deterrent for people. You might even want to change that to looters will be sniped. You know, that might even evoke more paranoia in the person. Just because the word sniped is scarier, I think, for a lot of people, because then you don't know where it's coming from. Shot seems like it's going to be a direct encounter and you're going to be shot, but sniped means that you don't know where that person might be. It's the whole don't open, dead inside principle of The Walking Dead. There's a lot of different ways you can do this. I'm sure there's an infinite amount of ways that you could use signage as a deterrent, but really that could be the first line of defense that kept people out of your general space and perhaps would discourage them from proceeding any further and encroaching on your immediate lines of defense. Another thing you can do in a lot of cities, and the town I live in, there's cell towers. And not just, cell towers on top of tall buildings. I mean, honestly, I would stay out of the downtown area if you're talking about long-term urban survival. Maybe, going to do a scavenging run here and there in some of those office towers, because there's definitely going to be supplies everywhere, as I'm going to talk about in a minute. But I would steer clear of those. The thing with cell towers is typically they're made to be the highest point wherever they are. I live in a town where there's not a lot of tall buildings, which is outside of a city, and I know that there's a lot of cell towers that I could climb up with relative ease, and I could see for miles and miles in every direction. Now, bear in mind, you're also at risk of giving away your own location, so whatever you can do to camouflage yourself while you're up there, or just minimizing your movements or whatnot, would also be beneficial. And of course, if you're a comms guy like Survival Tech Nord, you may have some utility to use this for communication purposes, setting up an antenna or a repeater or something like that. Because bear in mind, if we're talking about grid down, obviously the cell tower itself is not going to be operable, I'm assuming. Lots of things you could probably do with cell towers. Number 4 is schools, universities, and libraries, and any bookstore might be a vital source of information. Now, you got to keep in mind, if we're talking about the end of the world as we know it type situation, grids gone down for a long period of time, knowledge will be power, man. And if you can get into one of these libraries or bookstores and clean out basically all of the information that you might need to rebuild your community, that's going to be a vital source of information. People are going to be looking for how-to stuff when the internet goes down. Books may well be one of the most barterable, sought-after commodities when you really think about the synergistic potential of having information that teaches you how to do stuff when the information medium that everybody's dependent on right now is taken away from us. We're going to go back to the written word. Now, universities and schools are other hotspots for just everything that you could possibly imagine. There's a university near a city that I live, and it has all manner of greenhouses, biotechnology stuff, basically everything you can find in a university, from cafeterias to vital resources of all varieties, medical resources. Schools are the same thing. There's probably going to be a cafeteria in a school. There's going to be some measure of supplies, of course, toiletries and whatnot in all of those places. So keep those places in mind when the shit goes down. Number 3 is utilizing swimming pools as a source of drinking water. Now, as obvious as this might seem, not a lot of people are going to think about this, at least not until everybody's thinking about it. So you have some time to go in and get some of that water while you still can. And it's already chlorinated for the most part. Of course, you can use your filtration system, which you should have if you're a prepper anyways, to purify that water. There's probably not a lot of particulate matter in it, especially if it's an indoor pool, so have at her. You may also find some vital medical supplies in those places as well. Thinking outside the box in terms of what's available in the space that we just walk by every day and take for granted. Take for instance these automated external defibrillators. Now, if we're talking about grid down, first aid and medical care is going to be of utmost concern for a lot of people. So this machine has the ability to bring people back from the other side who have various cardiac problems. So that's going to be a major thing. And I think these things are going to get scooped up quick. They're few and far between out there in the urban landscape. So if you see one and you don't think that other people are going to suffer if you take it, and that's something you want to consider with all this stuff is, that the cost benefit analysis. Are you taking something which a greater community is going to be able to use, and are you just going to hoard it for yourself? That's something you're obviously going to want to make sure that there's a moral, ethical aspect that you're going to have to wrestle with that I can't lecture you on. There's also things like fire extinguishers that are abundant in all sorts of buildings. That could be a vital resource, even for bartering and whatnot. Even if you go into public washrooms, there's all manner of toiletries, there's soaps, there's toilet paper, which is going to be in short supply in a lot of places. A lot of people, if the water stops flowing and you're traveling through an urban environment, there's going to be water in the backs of those toilets. You get your 3-stage water filtration system, you filter it out, you drink it, you'll survive. Other things you can use are those plastic garbage cans. You can use those for water storage or a rain catchment system, or just moving different things around the yard. I mean, you could use them for a lot of different things. You could use fence posts throughout the city for firewood. There's going to be a lot of fires in the city because a lot of people are going to be trying to make fires in their house. And I'm not condoning this unless you're doing it responsibly, and I'll leave that for you to decide. But if you did run out of firewood, obviously the fence posts are going to be the next thing to go, I would imagine. There's a cafeteria almost in every major office building that a lot of people aren't going to be thinking about. There's probably food back there, there's supplies. If you go further back into the public space, you can explore those self-storage facilities, but keep in mind that there's probably not going to be a lot of stuff that you really need in there in the here and now. They may be good for general community scavenging purposes, but you're not going to find food, water, and you're probably not going to find a lot of weapons in there. You might find some weaponry or some self-defense implements. It's kind of a guessing game, and then you have to invest the time in going one by one. And of course, I'm sure there's going to be some security measures in those places, because those places in themselves are actually quite well fortified. If you think about it, they got barbed wire fences, they got guard dogs. Usually they're out in the industrial space, so something to consider anyways. Another thing you're going to want to scavenge while the getting's good is car batteries, because if you have some sort of renewable energy system, you can daisy chain those batteries in order to store the energy that you might get from some other stuff you might find in the city that we're going to talk about in a minute. And number 1 is going and scavenging the renewable energy sources that are available in the public space and even perhaps in the private space. So I'm talking about these solar panels that you see on the side of the road in construction sites, solar panels that you see on street signs. Lots of public buildings are outfitted with these to supplement the power supply, and public buildings in particular, because of course it's a PR thing, And these are just available out there, and honestly, people aren't going to be thinking about this stuff first. And a lot of these panels are probably at least 40 watts or so, and you get a few of those, and you got yourself some power, for something. It's not a lot, but it's enough to perhaps power some of your smaller electronics that you might benefit from using in a grid down situation, so long as you had your Faraday cage in the instance of an EMP. So that's what I got for urban survival scavenging strategies. I hope some of that you found useful today. And by all means, if you have any other things to add to the conversation, feel free to do so in the comment section. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, Got a lot more videos coming like this, getting back to talking about the raw, nitty-gritty aspects of urban survival in a post-collapse environment. So stay tuned. And don't forget to get your entry in for the Apollo Tactical Bow System. I will post a link here and in the description. Thanks for watching. Canadian Prepper out. Check out the Canadian Preppers Network blog, an excellent resource for survivalists and preppers.